Ready? How y'all doing tonight? I'm Tony Carsella, and we're shooting live down here from Landrum, South Carolina. I am an original Mercervillian. I lived on the outskirts of Mercerville, New Jersey, which is in Hamilton Township, right outside of Trenton. And as far as I'm concerned, the boundaries of Mercerville really begin at the center, which would be Grop's Bar, now Bill's Old Tavern, when I grew up in the 60s and 70s. And it was run by Peggy Grop and her husband for such a long time that I can remember. And they had such famous people in there as Joe Carroll. He was the bartender, Andy Polishak, and the famous, let's never forget the famous Doc Doherty, who was a doctor and he retired. He became a bartender. And if you wanted to have an executive breakfast with the doc, he opened at 7 o'clock in the morning. And for those of you in the 70s who were up that early to go into the bar, remember now, this is before my come to Jesus moment now in the 90s. We would go visit the doc early in the morning, and he would say, "One for you and one for the doctor." And he always would take people in the parking lot because he had his bag out there. If you happen to have problems with your blood pressure and anything else, he'd write you a script right there. So it was a 2-for-1 deal: breakfast with the doc, and you could get an appointment too, and you could get a checkup with it right there in the parking lot. And I'm not kidding. And as we travel further down Nottingham Way, you had Anderson's Market. You had on the left, you had JoJo's Bar, who has a great bar pie, which I got one in the oven right now. Better than JoJo's, though. Sorry, Carmen Cheruboni, but we're better than JoJo's. And Cotton, who's over there spinning pies now. If you went to Grop's, you really didn't go to JoJo's, and the people from JoJo's didn't go to Grop's. They were different factions. That's just the way it was in Mercerville. And as we move further down Nottingham Way, you had on the left side, you had Roy's Barber Shop, who was Roy Stoll, and he was Jehovah's Witness, always trying to convert people. Good for him. Then you had Gray's Liquor Store. You had the Dairy Queen. As you moved further up Nottingham Way, you had Lum's back in the day. You had, on the left-hand side, you had Corella's Shoe Store, still there today. You had Big John's Barbershop. Hey, Big John. And he had son Steve and Camrad, and we called him Worm when we went to school. I don't know why we called him Worm. That was just his name. This is about famous people, legends, and people of Mercerville, famous Mercervillians, and places, names and places of people that I grew up with. To the left, you had Patterson Chevrolet, and as you moved further down, you had Cal Jones Exxon on your right. Now you're at King's Fairground Mall, which used to be the Trenton Speedway. Now, a little bit further down on the left-hand side, you had the Hamilton Chiropractic Center, which was the famous Dr. Anthony Dipastina, who started his practice in the 80s. But let me backtrack down Nottingham Way, because his father, the famous Angelo Dipastina, also known as Itch, had a barber shop on the right-hand side next to the Ricciani's and the Heidelberg Inn and Crossy's Aquarium. Now, the reason why I bring that up, because it was a very famous place. It reminded me of, in The Godfather, when Michael Corleone brought Mr. Pantangeli into the house where he grew up, and he said, "In this room, I learned many things. My father taught me to keep my friends close, but my enemies closer." I was a client of the famous Angelo Dipastina for many, many years. My father brought me in that barbershop from the time I was knee-high to a grasshopper till I graduated high school. I learned many things from my mentor, the great Angelo Itch Dipastina. Things that were so deep spiritually, intellectually, that I could not even begin to expound on in this short but precious video about Mercerville. And the itch taught me so many things that have even affected my lineage and my genealogy. But, as I said, sorry I can't share them with you. He had 2 sons, Anthony and Bobby, who I knew, I interacted with and hung out with, and I availed myself of the services of Dr. Anthony Dipastina, now called the Hamilton Pain and Rehab Center. And this video is being made in Itch's honor, and because the Bible tells us to honor them that whose honor is due. So that's why I had to backtrack. And as we continue on down Nottingham Way towards the Bromley section, on the left-hand side was also a gas station where Kenny and Albert Schwicke, who were really not Mercervillians, but they were on the fringe, and we interacted with them. They lived down Clockner Road, down by the Hurry Back and the Acre. Now, the Acre was not really Mercerville, but there was a connection between the people in the Acre, like Gator, Grubby, Bear, and a Blob. You could find a Blob in there. You could find an Oob, a Doob, Ricky the Duffer, Michael Huffman. You could throw them into the mix, too. So I'm trying to incorporate all these people into this short video, which is very hard to do, by the way. So in order to do justice to this video, we have an old-fashioned tomato pie here that the cameraman is going to take a picture of. And we're going to take out of the oven. There you go. That the people that patronize places like JoJo's, Maruka's in the Wilbur section. You hear that crunch? Oh my God. Hear that? Oh man, it's hot. Would understand. They would love to have a piece of the pie. There you go. Alright. But as I finish this video, I want to come back down Clockner Road on the left to where you had the Click Bar, you had Leonard's Hurry Back In, you had Leonard's Deli, where you had the Martin family, you had Blob, you had Rhodes, and all the Martin family. And I don't know, maybe they were all mixed together, whatever, but there was a lot of Martins, and they had a lot of names. That's where you had the Gator at, Terry Davison. But you had another Gator, a Glen Gator, from Natrona Avenue, which was outside of the heart of Mercerville. Natrona Avenue, Saybrook, where you had Debbie Lockwood. Well, she was Debbie Troner back then. You had the Giuliano, Dennis and his sister, Donna Giuliano. You had Mayor Jack Rafferty back in that neighborhood, behind Camrad's Barbershop, the 5 and 10 cent Tracy's. Going back the other way towards Grop's Bar, it was easy to find a Blob, an Oob, a Doob, a Studs Padil, an O'Reilly, a Huffman, a Ricky the Duffer, a Larry Sketch, a Tallarico. You could find in that area, if you looked hard enough, you could find a Walty the Nip and his wife Lilith. You could find a Crimpy Wilshaw. Hey, it was all available to us that lived in Mercerville. Right around the corner was Fred and Pete's Deli on Route 33 as we traveled down there towards Hamilton Square, where you had the important member of the club. You had Chaz, Mr. Kites, who hung in Grops too. Even though he was from Hamilton Square, we considered him, he had Mercervillian blood in him. And for lack of a better term, I can't even go up towards Route 1 right now for sake of time and pleasure to tell you about Gooch and his sister Luscious. Their name, they were Russians, and their name was about this long. We called them Gooch. And then you had Myrie Run, you had Grubby's Trail, and if you lived in Mercerville, you knew about a Shamanshik, a Sinwich, and a Cahoon. You had a Chud involved. He was the only Mexican that lived in Mercerville. So we did have a little diversity back then. So I close with this. If you can come down here, we would love to have you. We would love to make you feel right at home. Any Mercervillians? Oh, and by the way, in Mercerville, we did offer up to the Supreme Court years ago a Justice Samuel Alito, who is from Steiner High School and Mercerville. We also had Judge, oh Lord help me, who was from Ewing Township, New Jersey, who was killed recently. I believe he was murdered. Oh Lord help me. Oh, the Anton Scalia. Anton Scalia was from Ewing Township, which was on the fringes. It was on the fringes of Mercerville. And to those that I could not name, names that I forgot, please forgive me. But for you, Anthony Dipastina, there's this pie for you. I mean, it's hot. I just want to show you. Because your father and your family had so much influence on my life, I wanted to pay tribute and honor to the Dipastina family, to the O'Reillys, the Huffmans, and all those famous Mercervillians. Don't forget Denny Jednak. Oh, he was a famous bomb maker from New Jersey. And I thank you for all that. Here's all your memories in Mercerville. God bless. Amen and amen.